Welcome to Mr. English Daily.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to Mr. English Daily, your favorite place to grow your English through real, relaxed conversations. I'm Luna.
And I'm Leo. Luna, can I be honest with you about something?
That's never a good opening, Leo.
The air conditioning in here is absolutely freezing today.
It is literally a normal temperature.
For penguins, maybe.
You say this every single time the AC works properly.
And every single time I am right.
Okay, moving on. Outside, it's a bit gray today. A little quiet, a little still.
Yeah, and honestly, today's topic feels a bit like that too. Not loud, not dramatic, but something a lot of people carry very quietly inside.
Something that doesn't always look serious from the outside, but shapes so much of how you feel every single day.
Exactly. And today we're talking about self-worth, and specifically what happens when it starts depending too much on other people's approval.
Because I think most people know this feeling, even if they don't say it out loud.
Wanting approval is just such a human thing. Nobody is completely immune to it.
Right, and immune is a great word. If you're immune to something, it doesn't affect you easily. We'll come back to some of these words later.
But sadly, one slightly cold reply can still send people into a spiral very easily.
Oh, very easily. One strange text and suddenly your entire emotional system calls an emergency meeting.
Yes, and then you replay that one message for 3 full days.
3 days is very specific, Leo.
Because I have lived it, Luna.
Okay, fair enough. Personal stories.
For me, this topic became very real during a period when things felt economically uncertain. Companies were cutting costs, people were quietly worried about their jobs, and even though my own position was stable, that kind of atmosphere gets inside you.
Oh, I understand that feeling completely.
I noticed I was working extra hard just to stay visible, always available, always dependable, always useful. Like if I just answered fast enough and made myself necessary enough, I could somehow protect my place.
That's such a relatable response, though.
Human? Absolutely. Peaceful? Not at all. And what hit me later was this. I wasn't just scared about money or security. I was scared of feeling less valuable if that role disappeared.
Yes, because sometimes work becomes more than just work. It becomes proof that you matter.
Exactly. And when your worth starts living inside your job title, any uncertainty starts to feel personal.
Mine looked completely different, but the feeling underneath was surprisingly similar. Mine showed up in friendships and social situations. I used to leave certain conversations feeling really drained, and for a long time, I couldn't explain why.
That kind of tiredness usually points to something deeper happening.
Yes, and eventually I realized I was trying too hard to be liked, laughing quickly, agreeing quickly, smoothing everything over, making sure everyone around me felt comfortable. I was basically running a one-woman emotional customer service desk.
That image is painfully clear, Luna.
Thank you. And then after those conversations, I'd go home and second-guess everything. Did I say too much? Was I strange? Did that joke land wrong? Should I have just stayed quieter?
And if you second guess yourself, it means you start doubting your own words or choices after the moment has already passed.
Right. And the hard part to admit was this. I wasn't only trying to connect with people. I was performing a little. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to feel chosen.
So in your case, your self-worth got tied to being accepted.
Exactly.
And in my case, it got tied to being needed.
Different stories, same trap.
Yes, and I think that's exactly why this topic matters so much. Self-worth can quietly attach itself to almost anything. Work, relationships, appearance, productivity, usefulness, success.
So in today's episode, we're going to talk about why approval feels so powerful, what self-worth actually means, the difference between confidence and self-worth, the habits that quietly damage it, and the habits that help rebuild it.
This is a B1, B2 level episode, so the language is a little richer today, but still natural and comfortable to follow.
So don't worry if you don't catch every single word. Just stay with us, listen for the feeling, and let your English grow naturally.
And later, we have our word tour, where we walk through some of the most useful words and phrases from today's conversation.
And if you want to keep practicing after this episode, check the description. There are extra resources waiting for you.
All right, let's get into it. Part 1. Why does approval feel so powerful?
So let's start at the beginning. Why does approval feel so powerful in the first place?
Because it genuinely feels good. It feels safe, calming, reassuring. When someone smiles at you, praises you, chooses you, your nervous system basically exhales and says, "Lovely, we are okay."
Yes, it's almost embarrassing how quickly one warm reaction can lift your mood and how quickly one cold reaction can drop it.
Also true. And I think many people fall back on approval without even realizing it.
Right. And fall back on something means you start depending on it when things feel unstable or uncertain.
So when people feel insecure, they fall back on praise, reassurance, compliments, being needed, being chosen. Those things start working like emotional painkillers.
And that's why it can feel addictive, because approval doesn't just feel nice, it feels like relief.
Yes, especially if you're already doubting yourself. Then approval doesn't feel like a bonus. It feels like oxygen.
Exactly. And the difficult part is, if you don't build your own inner steadiness, you end up waiting for little signs from outside. A warm reply, a compliment, a thank you, a smile, just some sign that he still matter.
Basically, emotional Wi-Fi.
Yes, and one weak signal and suddenly everything feels unstable.
So approval becomes addictive because it gives short-term comfort, but it doesn't create long-term stability.
It calms you for a moment, but it doesn't teach you how to stand on your own emotionally.
Part 2. What is self-worth really?
For me, self-worth is the ability to believe that you matter even when nobody is clapping.
That's a strong definition.
It's how you see your own value when you are not being praised, chosen, admired, or reassured. Self-worth is quieter than confidence. It's deeper, less shiny.
Less shiny. I like that.
Thank you. Confidence says, I think I can do this. Self-worth says, even if this goes badly, I am still okay inside.
Yes, that is such an important difference. And building that kind of worth is very deliberate.
Right, and deliberate means done intentionally, not by accident, not by luck.
Exactly. Real self-worth doesn't just appear one morning while you're eating breakfast and feeling healed.
Slightly harsh, but accurate.
It grows through noticing unhealthy patterns, through changing how you speak to yourself, through showing yourself again and again, I am still here for you.
So self-worth isn't a mood. It's not a lucky day. It's not one good hair day and 2 compliments.
Though we fully respect a good hair day.
Deeply. But yes, it's your internal relationship with your own value.
And I think this is where a lot of people get confused, because confidence and self-worth can sound almost the same.
But they are not the same thing at all.
Right. Confidence is about how you feel about your abilities. Self-worth is about how you feel about your value as a person.
Confidence asks, can I do this? Self-worth asks, if I don't do this well, am I still okay inside?
Which is a much harder question, honestly.
Much harder. So confidence shows up in what you do. Can I handle this task? Can I walk into that room and perform? But self-worth is deeper. It's, if I fail, if I'm rejected, if I'm not impressive today, do I still believe I matter?
Exactly. You can look completely confident and still have very fragile self-worth.
Yes, some people speak well, work well, present themselves well, but inside, they're terrified of being ordinary.
Or terrified of anything that cracks the image, which is exhausting.
Completely. Confidence helps you do things, but self-worth is what holds you together when things don't go well.
And when that foundation is weak, certain habits start appearing. So let's talk about the ones that quietly damage self-worth.
Habit number 1, people-pleasing. Yes, saying yes when you mean no, smiling when you're uncomfortable, over-explaining every decision, softening yourself constantly, acting like everyone else's comfort is somehow your full-time responsibility.
Which legally it is not.
Thank you for confirming that, Leo. And for some people, pleasing others starts to feel almost obligatory.
Right, and if something feels obligatory, it feels required, expected, like you have no real choice.
So rest starts to feel selfish, boundaries start to feel rude, honesty starts to feel risky, and gradually you teach yourself my needs come second.
Habit number 2, over-identifying with what you do.
Yes, when your value gets completely tied to your productivity, your success, your income, your achievements, your usefulness.
That was my pattern exactly. I wasn't just doing my job, I was using my job to tell myself I was allowed to feel okay.
Ouch.
Very ouch. Not ideal. And when your worth lives in such an unstable place, you also start tolerating things you shouldn't, which brings us to habit number 3, letting disrespect go too far.
Yes, when self-worth is low, you sometimes let people get away with things they really shouldn't.
Right, and get away with something means doing something wrong or unfair and facing no.
They cross a line, they speak carelessly, they use your kindness too much, and you stay quiet because losing the relationship feels scarier than losing your peace.
And that slowly takes a toll on you.
Exactly. And takes a toll on means something has a slow, harmful effect on you over time. It chips away at your calm, your self-trust, your honesty. Because every time you ignore your own discomfort, part of you notices.
And habit number 4, constant self-doubt.
Always checking yourself, always adjusting, always wondering, how did I sound? Did they like me? Was I too much? Was I too quiet? Was I annoying?
The brain becomes a very harsh personal review page.
1 star. Too emotional. Too many opinions. Confusing overall.
And all 4 of these habits share one thing in common. They train you to look outside yourself for permission to feel okay.
Which means your peace never really feels stable or yours. So, if those are the habits that damage self-worth, what actually helps rebuild it?
Habit number 1, keep small promises to yourself.
Very unglamorous, very powerful. If you say you'll rest, rest. If you say you'll go for a walk, go. If you say you'll stop checking messages at midnight, please stop writing long emotional messages at 12:14 in the morning.
That felt targeted.
It was universal, Leo. And this is where self-trust starts, when you actually carry through on what you tell yourself matters.
Right, and carry through means you continue with something and complete it, instead of dropping it halfway.
Every time you carry through on a small promise to yourself, you send yourself a quiet message. I listen to me. I matter too.
Habit number 2, stop over-explaining everything.
Yes, because over-explaining usually means you're trying to control other people's reactions before they even happen. You want your decision to sound acceptable enough to earn their approval.
Habit number 3, let discomfort happen without treating it like a crisis.
Yes, someone being disappointed is uncomfortable. Someone misunderstanding you is uncomfortable. Someone reacting differently than you hoped is uncomfortable. But uncomfortable is not the same as unsafe.
That is a really important shift, because a lot of people think if this feels bad, I need to fix it immediately. But sometimes the healthier move is to stay steady and let the moment breathe.
Which is extremely annoying advice.
And extremely useful.
Correct on both counts. And habit number 4, speak to yourself with more dignity.
Not fake praise, not empty affirmations your own mind immediately rejects, just a more respectful inner voice.
Less, what is wrong with me, and more, okay, what happened there? Less, why am I like this, and more, what do I actually need right now?
Because self-worth grows in the way you respond to yourself after hard moments, not only after successful ones.
I think this is where self-worth becomes visible, in your boundaries, in your self-trust, in your emotional steadiness. Not glamorous, but very real.
Yes, because boundaries aren't only about saying no. They're about believing your no deserves to exist.
And when you start setting real boundaries, some people may be taken aback.
Right, and taken aback means surprised or a little shocked.
Because they were used to the earlier version of you, the endlessly available version, the it's fine, don't worry about me version.
Sweet on the outside, completely exhausted on the inside.
Exactly. And emotional strength is not about becoming cold or hard. It's about becoming steadier.
It's being able to say, I can get through this moment without going against myself.
That's a strong sentence.
Thank you. And self-trust grows in these small moments. Every time you notice your discomfort, honor your limit, speak honestly, and stay with yourself, you become a little safer to live inside.
So, how do people actually begin depending less on outside validation without pretending they don't care at all?
The goal isn't to feel nothing. It's to stop making other people's reactions your main source of stability.
Yes, approval can feel nice, it just can't be the place where your worth lives.
So before you chase reassurance, pause. Ask yourself, what am I hoping they'll give me right now? Safety? Comfort? Permission? Proof?
And then ask, can I give even a small part of that to myself first?
It also helps to notice where this pattern shows up most for you. Work? Friendships? Appearance? Family? Being useful?
Because once you can name it, it stops feeling so random and overwhelming.
And letting go of approval as a strategy can feel very strange at first.
Very strange, but that's part of the process. You stop performing so much, you start listening to yourself more, and slowly your worth begins to move inward.
Not perfectly, but steadily.
Sadly, there is no emotional overnight delivery.
Very disappointing. So the simplest way to say it, self-worth is not built by making sure everyone approves of you.
It's built by staying connected to yourself, even when they don't.
Especially when someone is disappointed, when you feel awkward, when you don't perform your best.
Maybe especially then, because if your worth only shows up on good days, it isn't rooted deeply enough yet.
But if you can stay on your own side in hard moments too, that changes everything.
And honestly, that's what makes life feel calmer. You stop living like every room is judging you, every message is grading you, every silence is a rejection.
Every raised eyebrow is now an official performance review.
1 star. Unstable service. Not recommended.
The goal isn't to stop caring completely.
The goal is to care without collapsing.
Because people's opinions will always come and go, but your worth can't keep moving into all of them.
That is a truly chaotic housing strategy, Leo.
It really is. Your worth needs a steadier address than that.
Yes, and that's what we're building. Not perfect confidence, not some magical state where nothing touches you, just something steadier inside.
Something you can actually come back to.
All right, time for our word tour, a calm little walk through the most useful vocabulary from today.
No hiking boots required.
First phrase, take a toll on.
If something takes a toll on you, it slowly has a negative effect on your energy, emotions, or strength over time. Not always suddenly, sometimes little by little. For example, constantly needing approval can take a toll on your peace of mind.
Or, trying to please everyone eventually took a toll on her confidence. Repeat, take a toll on.
Take a toll on.
Next, second guess yourself.
If you second guess yourself, you start doubting your own words, choices, or actions after something has already happened. For example, she always second guesses herself after speaking in a group.
Or, he sent the message and immediately started second guessing himself. Repeat, second guess yourself.
Second guess yourself.
Next, fall back on.
If you fall back on something, you depend on it when things feel uncertain or difficult. For example, when she feels insecure, she tends to fall back on other people's approval.
Or, some people fall back on staying busy because it makes them feel valuable. Repeat, fall back on.
Fall back on.
Next, deep-rooted.
If something is deep-rooted, it has been there for a long time and feels strongly fixed inside you. For example, his fear of rejection was deep-rooted.
Or, for many people, the need for approval is deep-rooted. Repeat, deep-rooted.
Deep-rooted.
Next, immune.
If you are immune to something, it doesn't affect you easily. For example, nobody is completely immune to criticism.
Or even confident people are not always immune to self-doubt. Repeat, immune.
Immune.
Next, deliberate.
If something is deliberate, it is done carefully and intentionally, not by accident. For example, building self-worth takes deliberate inner work.
Or she made a deliberate choice to stop over-explaining herself. Repeat, deliberate.
Deliberate.
Next, obligatory.
If something feels obligatory, it feels required or expected, like you have no real choice. For example, for some people, saying yes feels almost obligatory.
Or the smile felt obligatory, not genuine. Repeat, obligatory.
Obligatory.
Next, carry through.
If you carry through on something, you continue with it and complete it instead of giving up halfway. For example, she started trusting herself more when she began to carry through on small promises.
Or it's not enough to make promises to yourself. You have to carry through. Repeat, carry through.
Carry through.
Next, get away with something.
If someone gets away with something, they do something wrong or unfair and face no real consequence for it. For example, when your self-worth is low, you may let people get away with disrespect.
Or he kept getting away with unkind behavior because nobody said anything. Repeat, get away with something.
Get away with something.
And the last one today, be taken aback.
If you are taken aback, you feel surprised or a little shocked. For example, some people are taken aback when you stop people-pleasing.
Or she was taken aback by how strong her own reaction was. Repeat, be taken aback.
Be taken aback.
That was a really strong set today.
Very honest vocabulary for a very honest topic.
And maybe that's a beautiful place to close. You do not need everyone's approval to begin rebuilding your self-worth.
It starts much more quietly than that. With honesty, with small boundaries, with self-trust, and with learning to stay on your own side a little more.
So if something from today stayed with you, let it stay gently. No pressure, just one small thought to carry into your day.
And we'd love to hear from you. What affects your self-worth the most? Work, relationships, appearance, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments.
This is Luna.
And this is Leo.
And you've been listening to Mr. English Daily. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care of yourselves. See you soon.